Welcome to this session on making cloud cost optimization a priority for your enterprises. As we all know, the consumption of cloud is doubling as we speak every year. Since 2018, it has almost doubled from the 30% usage of cloud that most enterprises were really using it for. And the pandemic situation has only accelerated the usage of cloud. However, as we all know, the decentralized model of consumption and the multiple different options of different cloud and hybrid services that we all have, uh, there is also an aspect of costs and billing that the consumers have to be taken care of. And given that it is a pay-as-you-go model, the cost can vary from month to month, and managing this cost, therefore, is of prime importance to the CIOs and the CTOs of these large enterprises. So, with the cloud usage witnessing high growth, uh, business do not have an option but to control this cloud cost. And the panelists in this session will really provide insights into their respective cloud optimization strategies and cloud cost optimization strategies to be specific. And we have a very distinguished panel here. So let me quickly introduce you to them. We have Mr. Gopi Tangavel, who is VP IT and Head Infrastructure of Reliance Industries Limited. Welcome, Gopi.
Thank you, sir.
We also have Mr. Ashwini Kumar Gupta, Head of Application Services, Sun Life Asia.
Thank you, Nathan.
Welcome, Ashwini. Also on the panel today is Mr. Nitin Mittal, President, Technology and Data for Z.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. And these are really the large consumers of the cloud services out there. And we have the other side of the table from IBM, Mr. Vamsicharan Mudiam, who is the CTO Cloud Platform, IBM India and South Asia.
Hi, Nathan. Thank you.
Hi. And Mr. Anitosh Haldar, Business and GTM Head for Cloud, DC and Managed Services for CIFI Technologies.
Hi, everyone. Thanks a lot.
So, as you can see, a diverse set of senior leaders from all of these organizations will really share their insights and experiences on the usage of cloud and how they are optimizing the cloud costs for their enterprises. So, let me start off with Mr. Gopi Tangavel. So, Gopi, as we know, this subject is close to all our hearts in terms of managing the cost and also being able to use the cloud services to the fullest. So for Reliance Enterprises, what is your enterprise strategy to set the cloud budgets and allocate spending to your teams and projects? What is the overarching strategy that you are currently employing for your organization?
Not only limited to cloud, anything we do that, it's what is the benefit outcome going to be? It's not only limited to cloud, anything is like that. In a similar way, cloud also part of it. So, simple example is if I go with a simple analytical tool or some other mobility or even simple Active Directory in that scenario, business will ask, what is the mean for it? Why I need this first? What business is going to benefit? Is it going to secure or is it going to add some value or is it going to save some cost or it is going to increase the productivity or what exactly it is? So when we are measuring it, it is important to do that, these are the components going to save, these are the components to increase our enhancement and productivity and better user experience. And of course, uptime and whatever we are talking about. So in that perspective, only all the cost is coming to the picture. But when you look at it, the small industry always, go approximately 6% of the revenue, mid-size maybe 4%, and the large enterprise maybe stick to 1 to 3. That is what largely we can see that. So the large enterprise always go with that, and within that revenue also there is a certain budget we have to give now security. If you look at it, that the way we are doing it, even in the SaaS-based model or PaaS-based model or whatever the model we follow, the security playing a huge role. Including security, what I mean, not only limited to external attack or internal attack, it is even your disaster recovery or your backups as a service or many other in. So in that way, of course, when you look at the large enterprise, even 1% is itself, it's a huge investment. So I think the entire organization going in that direction.
No, I think this is a very good point, Gopi, that you have raised, that it is not just about cloud, but it is also the overall IT budget and what component of that IT budget goes towards managing that cloud environment, including the additional responsibility around security, backup, etc. So I think very good point there. Ashwini, do you want to add to that a similar question for you in terms of what is your organization strategy here? What are the key points that you keep in mind when you look at costs in general and cloud costs as well?
Sure. I kind of agree with what Gopi said. At the same time, before I jump to respond to your question, I would like to give a little bit of background on what we are doing at Sun Life and how our cloud strategy relates to it. So we in Sun Life, our purpose is to help clients achieve lifetime financial security and live healthier lives. So as we're trying to do that, we are trying to become a digital enterprise. And as part of our digital enterprise strategy, cloud is a key component, along with the other digital capabilities that we're trying to grow, right? So, and in order to solve the purpose, right, we need to provide solutions faster to our clients, right? And at the same time, provide platforms to our employees so they are able to innovate and they are able to bring together solutions that are needed at this time, right? So the agility is very, very important, right? So just like cloud, there are other aspects that Gopi called out about security, about developing other digital capabilities. It's very, very important. So as far as our budgets are concerned, I think what we are focusing right now is how do we provide value faster to our clients. So cost is one component of it, right? And obviously, when we are getting into this world, the pricing and the cost management is very, very different from how we used to do it in yesteryears, right? It has brought in unprecedented amount of visibility to the IT costs that we have, right? The kind of granular details that you get in the bills, right? It's mind-boggling, right? And there's always a fear of resource sprawl that exists, right? So keeping that in mind, we want to, for the CIOs, the key question is how do we control our run costs, right? So we have classified our budgets based on the run, transform, and grow buckets. And typically, the run cost should not exceed the 50% of the overall IT budget, right? And talking about the budget that we spent, I think last time for Sun Life, we had spent almost 50% of our IT costs towards cloud. Right, so that's a big amount, right? And we want to make sure that we're controlling it. We are setting right kind of foundations in place so that we are not taken in for surprise, right? So how do we organize our cost at the cost center level? How do we keep monitoring it? And that becomes very important. So long answer short, I think cost is important, and we are keeping a close watch on it. But at the same time, cloud is just one component of what we're trying to do in Sun Life.
Thanks, Ashwini. I think this is a good insight. I think, as you mentioned, 50% of IT costs are now moving to cloud, and that's a big message for our listeners here. And that was a good classification of run costs versus transform costs and grow costs. That's a good guideline for CIS to keep in mind as they monitor and control the IT cost. Let me move to Mr. Nitin Mittal. I think, Nitin, similar question to you as well. Z being a very huge consumer of, I'm sure, the media storage and a lot of data as well, which really must be using a lot of cloud. So in terms of your strategy, what are your key points for managing those costs, and how do you really make sure that the key principles are being followed as we go down into the detailed costing that Cloud Anyway gives us?
Sure, Nitin. So a bit of a background. So there are two parts of the business. One is the linear part of the business, which is the television, which we all have been seeing and watching for last 3 decades. And the recent phenomena of digital consumption of entertainment, which is OTT. So OTT obviously is born in cloud. So I don't think we had a difficult choice to make there. It was born in cloud and it is supposed to stay there. So the way we do our budgeting and costing of cloud in an OTT world is fairly simple, which is a base cost which is required as a minimum experience factor, which you need to deliver to your consumers, deliver to your customers who are advertisers. And that's the minimum we all have to make sure that we earn for it and use it. Then there is a variable part of it. So as things go forward based on the business plan, based on the kind of content we bring, the kind of syndication and partnership we do with other content creators, there is a variability of consumption based on how much, let's assume, all of us want to watch at any point in time. So there is a variable part of our cost. So variable to us is a direct proportion to the revenue and the new consumer and subscriber base we want to earn and bring it on the platform. So the maths becomes fairly simple. One is our base consumer experience, for which we have a cost which we have to incur, which is already earned, and what we extra want to earn in terms of new customers and consumer is what is variable, and that is managed and monitored. And we measure the ROI based on every content we release on a day-to-day basis. So what we spend for, have we got our returns based on our expectation? And data plays a very vital and critical role in forecasting, predicting, and then making sure that we are able to scale up and down based on the variability of consumption. So that's on the, I would say, the simpler side of the business, which is OTT born in cloud. We should learn and live in cloud. Second part of our business, which is the television side, which is now transforming itself to become more agile and merging itself with the digital world, is in the transformation phase. So the entire supply chain of content creation and distribution is migrating to cloud. And in that space, our strategy is fairly simple. We are cloud provider agnostic. So we are taking best of the services from public cloud providers, as well as we are changing our internal infrastructure to a private cloud. So eventually we should able to orchestrate our workloads between all the possible options of public cloud providers who are providing relevant services like CDN, in terms of our video players, in terms of our content libraries, in terms of our broadcast management system and SaaS capabilities of various technologies. And hence, we would distribute our risk and distribute our cost evenly based on the workloads which we intend to play on these cloud infrastructures by use case and by each business case. And obviously, the whole organization is moving to a cloud first choice. So most of our enterprise IT is also migrating for an employee from in-house applications to a SaaS subscription for the employee engagement as well, whether it's for right from onboarding to a travel or to as simple as a leave and attendance application. So as we are changing to a hybrid work environment, we are also moving our entire employee engagement and consumption to a SaaS offering inside the Z firewalls. So that's how we are managing. Of course, it's a journey. We are at the beginning of a journey for 50% of our organization. 50% is already there in cloud. So interesting times ahead.
Great. I think that's good to know the different aspects of cloud. And I think based on this input, we'll make sure that we also try to keep our Netflix and Z media watching in a more steady fashion than a variable fashion to make your life easier. So thanks for that. But I think this is a very good insight into the next question I want to ask both Anitosh and Vamsi. In terms of, you have heard the consumers, you have heard different dispositions as well as different formats of the cloud is being used. And I think the last one, particularly a hybrid kind of a landscape where there is a variability in the usage of cloud. So how do you, Anitosh, really as a cloud service provider and a data center provider here for these customers, try to bring that transparency into the services that you provide. And I think I heard also the variability in billing that comes with the variability in usage. How do you make that more transparent, and what is your strategy going ahead to provide more visibility and more accelerators and solutions for your consumers to be really adopting more cloud?
Yeah, thanks, Nitin. I think the most important fact of this discussion in any cloud optimization or any cloud adoption today is the cloud model, correct? So for the last 2 decades, what we are seeing is that any organization that we are discussing, any clients, any partners, the adoption of cloud is a bit different for each one of them. Each one of will come with by the industry and the adoption where they want to reach, what is the customization they want to go for. The adoption level is different, and very important aspect before jumping into cloud management or support. The first thing is the model, the right model, the cloud right model. Is it going to be a real PaaS model, IaaS model, SaaS model? What consumption model people are going for? So that's where we are focusing as an organization more. First, to be on the understanding currently the IT side of it and relating to the business outcome, because cloud is all related to the business agility, correct? That is the most first impact that we are looking ahead. Once we understand that any organization is creating their own platform, which we call as a cloud multi-platform, multi-management platform, you can give it a name. The most important aspect of that platform is nothing but sniffing and giving you the understanding the pattern of usage that you are doing, correct? Because within an organization, there will be line of business which will be different. So it's not about just an IT modernization. What is your consumption patterns month on month, quarter on quarter by your line of business that is happening? So that's another aspect, a very, very key focus we as an organization keep on looking at. What it gives also, by this pattern of usage, you know exactly how much VM you're idle, how much of your resources is getting utilized or not getting utilized. And that's where the transparency of the inter-utilization comes out, which gives you the first point of what is your cloud usage today as an organization. And that's where the cost impact hits first. So once we are in that journey, then the day 2 starts, because any cloud is a journey, right? In the day 1, you cannot start with an understanding that what is my consumption level and what my cost optimization will be. So the day 2 is where we are bringing a lot of analytics, AI ML point of view, which is over and above a management platform or a dashboard, where it basically runs and give you the analysis so that you can maintain the rules of cloud properly into your cloud journey going forward. Because the moment your rules of scalability, rules of usage, or rules of optimization is clear, by line of business, you will understand what is your cost optimization when it need to be pulled. And it's a journey, that we take along with our partners and clients together. So that's what we are seeing right now in the market, and that's where we are building our IPs, the cloud management platform that we have built. The we call it a SIFI value chain. This is the day 2 SVC platform that we have created as an AI/ML over and above the CMP, the cloud management platform we have built. Yeah, Nitin.
Thanks, Anish. Over to you, Vamsi. I think similar views from you in terms of how IBM is looking at it, both on the IBM cloud and also from the services perspective, since you also do cloud services, migration services, modernization services for a lot of clients, both India and globally. So how are you really looking at it more from the service provider perspective on the application side, as well as a cloud provider from the infra side?
Sure. Thanks, Nitin. So I think I want to answer it in 2 ways, like you said, right? From a cloud provider perspective, I think the focus is going to be on 2 aspects. One, how much of the catalog can be predictable pricing, and how much of it will eventually become variable because of various other factors like our dependency on network providers, etc., where egress is a common concern, which a lot of customers have, because that becomes the biggest variable depending on the behavior of the application, behavior of the employees, etc. The second aspect is also around how much of with IBM being a player in the hybrid cloud strategy, how do we ensure, devoid of whether you want to run it on our cloud or on premises or any other's cloud, how do we ensure you can take what you're running and deploy it multiple places, other strategy which you're bringing in? Because I think apart from understanding of when Anitosh said about the deployment model or the choice, right? It's around giving that freedom depending on the workload, depending on the customer's maturity, depending on the type of journey the customer wants to take or the partner wants to take, we have these two as focus areas. One is, as I said, to ensure the large part of catalog becomes more predictable in terms of pricing. And the second is around making this catalog available across multiple places, largely because of our Red Hat acquisition and our Red Hat OpenShift, allowing us to deploy it on multiple places to run some of these services, sometimes on premises, or sometimes on a competitor's cloud, or sometimes on IBM cloud. So that's from a cloud provider perspective in terms of what we're doing. As a service provider, again, this is a day in, day out problem, right? In terms of, Nitin's perspective on OTT is very, very different from a typical enterprise CIO conversation, right? And the typical enterprise CIO conversation is around, how do I make sure my organization gets the agility it needs along with the cost optimization, so that I don't need to put too much upfront capital, but also be able to go and deploy some of these services in such a way that my employees and my partners and my customers are able to access and do business with me, or transact with me, right? So that the journey which we give as a part of the services or the IBM Consulting is around sitting together with the customer to understand the choice, right? So I keep reading about this, right? People say we do 80 in next 2 years, 80% of our workloads will be on cloud, right? Or we have made a decision to move 90% of. So that to come to that statement, a lot of work has to be done in the back. And sometimes the statement doesn't hold good in 2 years because you find a different way. That's the work which we do. One of the things we're trying to bring in with the garage methodology is to look at the MVP, right? Minimum viable product, go with that, then take your lessons learned, then move to the next level, so that you're not going all in at once, but also able to actually do small sprints so that you can actually get to your eventual goal of cloud consumption or cloud adoption as an enterprise or as a cloud native company. So that's the two focus areas we're doing in terms of IBM Consulting perspective.
Hey, thanks, Vamsi. I think this is a good perspective from both sides of the table. And I think, as you rightly said, there are different concerns for different types of enterprises. And even as Anitosh shared, in terms of the models that you are really taking on for your cloud adoption as well. Let me move back to Gopi. I think, Gopi, we understood overall, yes, the overall cost strategy is at the enterprise level and at overall IT budget level. But since you are talking about costs and budget, I'm sure there is also a finance department involved here. So in terms of the governance on a larger, broader plane, what is your interaction with the finance team? And since some of the months there could be spikes in certain services on the cloud as well. So how do you really have that continuous monitoring? What does that central governance team look like? Maybe if you want to throw some light on that, it would be good for our viewers to understand how to create those teams who can run, transform, and grow, as we heard earlier.
When we look at the cloud or any other IT operations, first we ensure that the business is, we align with the business. That is the first thing. And second is, of course, it's not about, sometimes we get approval for hundreds of crore, even 5 lakhs rupee will get stopped because of, it doesn't make any sense. So that's how business operates. So it's all about the business requirement, are we meeting or not? Second is, you think in this way, even when we have on-premises, if I'm buying storage or networking or any other component, if I'm not using it, obviously the question will come. So I have to share with the, in a transparency, very clearly, this is my asset, this is my utilization, this is what I have. And with this standard growth, I'm able to achieve this and I may need additional resource on this way. So this is the very clear perspective. Technology may varies. Like a storage itself, you take more than Flexi storage, flash, this, that, so many different types, and which is really required to business. That is, I'm not getting. I'm talking, I have asset, I need to utilize it. Very fair. Second is, when I talk about the asset, the same thing is applicable to cloud also. Either I'm going Spot or I'm going reserve model or whichever is getting benefit, I think the right partner will definitely suggest, you know what, better you do the reserve, why you are going like this. It will help you. So that easy, it makes sense a lot. But at the same time, finance team largely look at the performance and availability. Availability is top more priority, and the asset supposed to utilize the optimized way, and the performance, acceptable performance is largely is required. Even okay, I have everything is green, 100% uptime, but acceptability, the performance is there. And fourth is the compliance is very much required. The compliance, largely the visibility may missing. That's where your in-house expert and jointly partnered together, we can achieve that. And over and above the security, and where the finance team and any other team will go frustration is okay, show me how much you're spending. Exactly. So simple example, certain offices I know, Saturday, Sunday, they're never going to use that one. They will shut down the instance actually. Even certain people, certain instance, they will go even 8 o'clock sharply, they will shut down that instance also. People are there. But at the same time, is it making sense? Is it really helping our business? Is it really helping? It is like, I still remember one of the places, I don't want to name it. They want to optimize the air cooler. So what they done, every 2 hours, they have to shut down the air chiller in particular place. You won't believe it, that particular quarter, the cost is increased like anything. Because then only people realize when you switch on, it will grab 3 times the power more than the normal power. So every 2 hours, they are keep increasing the cost actually. So it's supposed to make sense. And geographical, I think all this cloud service provider, now they are very flexible and saying, okay, you want to optimize, okay, why don't you pick the different zone so you can have a better visibility and better cost optimizations and everything. And another thing is we normally see certain risk on, the same cloud area where we are able to optimize it and how we can ensure that, if one system get infected by different customer, it should in how it is not going to impact us. And how much transparently, we are compliant with either PSI or PCI or SaaS based or ISO, whatever it is, how we can ensure that, the cloud service provider, how much flexible to, cooperate with us. So I think it's joined together. It is not like a one size fit for all, but at the same time, there is no one component also. It's a multiple factor. At the end of the day, availability, sustainability, performance, and proper utilization. I don't want to pay something. It is like a buying ticket, massively. I don't need to buy for just one seat. Why need to pay for 50 seats or something? I just need to ensure what I'm paying, I'm using it for little cost.
Thanks. I think this is a very good insight there. You are looking at it holistically is more important and not specific costs or specific services. You'll have to have a overall strategy, and the key KPIs around availability, sustainability, performance need to be monitored to really come out at the overall value that the cloud is giving you, rather than saying that at certain point in time or at a certain part of the day, some of the services had a spike, etc. So I think that's very important. And I think good that you also brought in this compliance and the other departments of the enterprise into the game, because it is a shared responsibility for all. Basically, how do you really make sure that the business is finally benefiting? So I think great points there, Gopi. Ashwini, moving on to you around the same, in terms of governance, what are there any specific structures that you have created in your organizations to monitor and grow the cloud adoption? How do you go about it? Are there specific roles that you have created in the organization for doing this?
Sure. So I'll talk about the kind of governance that we provide for the workloads that we're planning to move to the cloud and the workloads that are already moved, right? So once we take the example of developing an MVP-based approach, right? So in our new way of working within digital enterprise, we want to make sure that every team is involved at the beginning of the solution design and the process, right? So as part of that, if we are developing a solution, there has to be involvement from IT infra, from risk, from compliance, from finance team, right? Especially wherever there is a cloud approach to be taken, right? And we have set organizations in terms of the Cloud Center of Excellence. We have Cloud Council, who are helping us in determining the best solution that is not only cost effective, that is reliable, that is secure, and will deliver the right value, right? So, as I said, it is a combination of multiple functions all coming together and making sure that we have the right solution in place. So that's the first level of governance when we define the solution architecture, right? And once we move something in the production, we have to make sure that we are taking care of any spikes that might come up at the cost level. So we have, as I had mentioned earlier, we have organized the cost basis, the cost centers, and the cloud center of excellence is organizing and also monitoring this cost along with the business unit partners to make sure that there are no surprises, right? So we review that, monitor and govern it at a very minute level, so that we don't end up having sprawling of costs. So that is a governance that we have set up, and I think it's working well for us. As I said, it is very important to set the foundation right, because if you are in the new world, if you have the right foundations, then you can lay on top of it. So we started with the pilots, and one of the key update I wanted to share was that we have partnered with AWS, which is our strategic cloud partner, and we also take advantage of the well architected framework that they have, right, in terms of determining the solutions. So some of the industry best practices, the best practices that we have within the organization, all coming together to ensure that we have the right governance in place.
Thanks, Ashwini. I think that is very aptly put there. Cloud COE and cloud governance committees is becoming the norm in many of our other enterprises as well. Moving on to Nitin again, I think since you mentioned earlier that the entire OTT business is cloud native, so I'm sure you're already having the tools and processes in place to monitor that, as you said earlier. But from the overall different businesses that you operate, and I'm sure there are multiple cloud service providers as well. So how do you bring that all together from the governance perspective? And what is your interaction with the other departments like risk and finance around this topic?
So to me, governance is about trust, right? So trust is manifested in multiple forms, and which is basically how we operate. So first part of the trust is transparency. So whosoever we are currently working with as our cloud partner, and the kind of technology we are implementing for our hybrid cloud model, the first thing is we should have transparency of consumption and transparency based billing model based on those consumption. And there is no manual intervention when it comes to these kind of processes. Only value we add in the food chain is by making sure that the aggregation of this cost is done in line with how businesses understand rather than the technology understands. Otherwise, the finance function would not have any clue of what you are talking. So there will be a transliteration problem between a technology and a finance team. However, we have also strengthened the finance team with cloud literacy. So in last 1.5 to 2 years of everybody is working from home has improved the digital literacy level across the functions. So they understand the language far better, but we have strengthened that team by adding some roles which are relevant for them in the new digital world, because they no longer deal only with physical assets, but also digital assets. So they need to upgrade their skill, knowledge, and awareness about it. When it comes to risk, yes, data security, which is another aspect of governance, is extremely critical. And we have third parties who are enabling us as independent auditors to make sure that whenever we are migrating workloads to cloud and stitching them over in the supply chain, the certain governance standards of data securities are met and are constantly monitored and reported without any manual intervention again. And there are remedial action based on the impact of that within a defined period of time. And this risk committee directly reports into the board. So it has no management intervention in terms of whether you can hide certain things under the carpet for a few quarters and it unearth in a more, I would say, gory way over a period of time, which impacts our trust in the market. Third aspect of this is, of course, business performance outcome. So everybody can align to a cost to spend, but eventually, if quarter on quarter with that particular spend, you're not getting a desired result and outcome, then definitely it has to be revisited. What's going wrong and how to fix it. And that's a joint discussion between, of course, the people who are accountable for business, the technology guys, the finance and risk, so that changes can be made. And most importantly, we also have revamped our legal functions, which have now digital legal teams, so that we can take care of all the aspects within our contracting ecosystem with our providers to make sure that all the aspects of transparency, data security, data governance, billing, and everything else is being taken care in the right way, which is the norm today, not of yesterday. So these are the things which we are taking care as we move and accelerate our journey towards cloud.
I think it's fantastic in terms of the way it has been structured across governance, across the transparency, in terms of reporting to the multiple departments of across the organization, and also taking care of the risk and the KPIs for measurement. And finally, I think the whole contracting and procurement, which has completely changed from what we were used to in terms of annual AMCs and etc. And things like that. So this is a complete relook, I would say, evolution of these other processes which have been triggered by the adoption of cloud. So let me go back to the other side of the table again, and maybe Anitosh, I am assuming that the cloud services that you are providing cater for all of these and give those inputs to Ashwini and Nitin and Gopi in terms of facing their risk teams and facing their audit teams and security teams as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's not about just CIFI. I think everybody who's going into a cloud managed platform point of view, this kind of insights are needed, because everything today in cloud, any contract, any discussion that we are having, it's an outcome based. Okay. Now there can be two types of organizations. One which is going to be a cloud enabler, who is just starting getting enabled on cloud. Another one we see is that which is next, we are moving from a cloud enabler to the next level of the cloud transformations, right? So there can be a cloud inspired, maturity. There can be a cloud enabled maturity, and it can be a cloud pure maturity. That's how we call it in CIFI, right? In each of this, discussion points, what we have seen, anything to do with the cloud is an outcome based. And when we get into an outcome based discussion, the services that we adhere to our, again, I will go back to the foundation discussion of the cloud managed platform, right? The day one cloud managed platform that we as a CIFI always share, it gives the understanding of the risks that or the vulnerabilities the apps has gone through. Okay, that is more from the IT operation efficiency point of view. Okay, it can also discuss as the security piece, Gopi said, right, where security is a very bigger concern today. Moving on cloud or on premise, that's going to be a concern for everyone. So how we can make sure that you're always resilient towards your business as an IT cloud transformation. In that scenario, the kind of framework in the cloud managed platform that we have built, it gives you a vulnerability assessment on the fly. It tells you, alerts you that which app is vulnerable and why, and what is the remediations needs to be taken. And that's where the next day two point of view starts. That's where the remediation services we bring in picture, and we transform it to the correction. Other discussion points, what we have seen, or other pointers that we are looking every day as an experience, as Nitin mentioned, there are a lot of OTT players who has come with us on a managed services, right? And we keep on seeing their consumption level has a pattern which goes on changing, and that's directly related to any kind of digital outcome or business outcome they're looking from ROI point of view, correct? And that is what procurement will look at, or I will say an SCM, a supply chain manager will look at, right? So what is my investment? What is the return I got? What we have also started understanding and making them, and it's about cloud is an awareness, as Nitin said. It is also the value that the cloud is bringing. It is just not the ROI that it's meeting up. What is the extra value the cloud is bringing, and how it is making that particular digital use case so agile for them, so that their customer experience is changing, and what is they're getting extra from the business point of view which they were envisaging. So that is another very important point in the baseline, like when Ashwini said that it has to be a collaborative approach where business and technology has to understand where to breach. And that's where I think the governance model is very important. What is the outcome we want to reach, and what is the modernization we want to do? How this has been staged or gapped every day or bridged every day, and is the outcome is following the way we wanted to see it? So these are the three aspects CFI generally work with: the product point of view, on the platform, and the insights that we can give. Then the consulting point of view, which we can sit down and partner, understand where you want to reach and how we can define that. And then the lastly is a services partner point of view on day in, day out, how we are meeting it up together so that we are meeting the business outcome that we wanted to reach at. Yeah, over to you, Nitin.
Thanks, Anupam. Thanks. So Vamsi, similar question to you in terms of IBM's offerings. How do you really make sure that all these aspects of governance, traceability, transparency, and risk are catered to by your cloud, as well as the accelerators and solutions that IBM as a consulting company builds?
Sure. So just going back to in terms of the bare minimum, right? The table stakes for you to become a cloud provider is giving that observability platform, right? Apart from simple ability to check the lines of the bill, but also to see who is using what is happening, etc., is something which is like bolted on or built on for any cloud provider, right? So IBM observability platform also has the similar stuff, especially post acquisition of Instana. But I really want to sort of bring out a different perspective, which we're seeing more and which we're talking more and more to customers. Going back to what I think Gopi mentioned, right? Cost of cloud is actually never to be looked at on isolation. It's always a function of what I think Nitin or Gopi mentioned of trade-off between how good performing you need to have and what is the best cost you can pay for it, right? So we're trying to see, can you run an application on a one vCPU machine only? All applications are one vCPU, and you'll be having a very cheap bill at the end of the month, but then I don't think any of your customers will be, or partners will be happy about it, right? On the other hand, you can take it and put it onto 32 core machines with God knows 768 GB RAM and SSD drives, and pay through the nose, and then have amazingly happy customers, but finance doesn't want to talk to you and doesn't want to approve your bill for the next month, right? So we're seeing these two aspects, and one of the things which we're able to achieve, especially post acquisition of Turbonomic, is how do you bring applications resource management and application performance management together to create that balance which is there, right? Why do we spend more money on cloud? And if you go back to the bottom of it, it's always because someone somewhere complained that my application is not performing well enough, or there's a latency, or I'm taking 3 seconds longer to submit this button, right? And what do? We usually throw more hardware at it, more RAM at it, or more storage at it, depending on what type of application. So what we're trying to bring in is that balance of leveraging what the observability platform is throwing out, and then ability to use this application resource management tool to actually ensure whether the performance peaks and troughs are in line with what you're using using your underlying infrastructure, right? Right from the nodes to storage to across platforms, right? And that is where I think we are seeing a lot more attraction, a lot more conversations happen, right? Because looking at either of these in isolation is not going to give you the real result. So we're trying to bring in those, how do you manage application resource management better with the view of your application performance management looking good, so that at the end of it, as all the speakers said, we don't necessarily need just a finance to be happy or the business users to be happy, but all of them to be happy. And then, I was reading recently, there's this organization called FinOps, which has come in, right? FinOps is now becoming relevant because going back to what Nitin mentioned, saying how do we educate our support organizations in finance and procurement and legal to be cloud savvy? How do we bring all of these together so that they can actually look at it holistically than being in silos, right? It's not that we're bringing anything new, right? All that we're trying to do is we're trying to get people who are looking at the bill, people who are looking at the performance, people who are provisioning, all of them come to the table together to make a meaningful decision so that it will be a collaborative and easier effort to actually optimize your costs. And that's where I think we are seeing a lot of focus. I think going back to governance, going back to, in terms of transparency, those are things which IBM probably has been doing for years, much before cloud, and we continue to bring that sort of a model into cloud as we go in, right? So I didn't want to touch upon those, but I wanted to actually bring this perspective on how we are trying to see, make customers use their investment more meaningfully in terms of getting better performing applications on cloud.
Thanks, Vamsi. And I think that key point that you made, it is not just a specific individual's responsibility to manage cloud costs. It is a shared responsibility across the organization, and this finally should lead to KPIs which are measurable on the business side. So point taken, I think we all agree to that. Last few minutes of this conversation, I would quickly want to go in the same sequence that we've been asking the questions. In the next 2 to 3 years, what are the top 2 areas that you want to really improve from the cloud cost optimization perspective? And you can really state the top 2 things that come to your mind. Maybe start with Gopi there. What would you like to do in the next 2 to 3 years in this area?
Thank you. I'll quickly add only 2 points. See, one is, it is not just limited to the analytical or database and other PaaS services or infrastructure services. And quickly touching on only 1 point, which is just to cover up this. One is, anyway, we have of course, it's hosted in internet. Of course, there is a lot of security issues people always think about. There is a governance, there is a compliance, there is a cost management, connectivity, performance, whatever it is. It is like thinking about our kitchen, the most vulnerable things, there is a knife, there is a gas, and you think of all the explosive things are in the kitchen, but still we will use it. We never skip it. So that's what I will look at it. There is so many things are there, flaws, we are keep improving it. Of course, we have to continue to practice and improve, bring more expertise and train more people and optimize it and make use of it. I believe soon we will reach it to any, not only limited to analytical or database or anything.
Thanks. So bringing the right expertise, investing in getting more people who are aware of it, and more people who are aware of the dishes that need to be made in the kitchen, I think that will make the kitchen a more safer place. With you there, Ashwini, your thoughts. Thanks, Gopi.
I think I'll agree with Gopi. We need people with the right talent who understands this language, the newer language, right? And I'll tell you, in Sun Life, we are running a program which is on immersive learning on the cloud, which is called a Catalyst for Cloud, right? Which is building the internal talent that will help us get better in this. At the same time, Anitosh mentioned earlier, right? We need proper insights to what costs we are incurring, right? So taking use of AI and ML so that we get meaningful insights into where we are kind of losing money or where we can do more optimization, right? So taking use of that, continuous focus on optimization and automation, which is going to be very, very important. So I think those will be the focus areas on how do we continue to optimize the cost and reduce our run costs so that we can focus more on grow and transform.
Thanks, Ashwin. So I think, to the people, we add analytics, AI, ML, more insights, and really find more avenues for optimization. Nitin, your thoughts? Thanks, Ashwin.
So to me, it's a combination of freedom and responsibility in 2 to 3 years from now. So cloud will no longer be a point of conversation. I think literacy levels across the board, including traditional businesses, would have improved significantly. But the providers need to take more accountability and become more responsible towards data security, governance, and privacy issues. I hope that overall industry and as a country, we will mature ourselves with the topic of data privacy and protection. And cloud ecosystem plays a most important and a vital role. And when it comes to freedom, I would not like to spend technology resources on cloud, because cloud should allow everyone in the organization to subscribe to the services which are best for their own productivity and a business and a consumer delight. So I would rather say the shape and ask the skill level of technology departments of most of the organization would have changed, not to provision services, but to make sure that they are advising the businesses for the right choices of subscription they are making compared to anything else. So it's a combination of freedom and responsibility.
Great, great. I think Nitin, more on the usability from the user perspective, making it less technology focused and abstracting it to more colleague or a friend of the business who advises him on what's best for his business. I think absolutely there. And of course, with great responsibility comes accountability. So I am sure we'll also make the people accountable on the kind of responsibilities and freedom they are enjoying. With you there, back to you, Anitosh and Vamsi, to make these objects achievable. What do you think the cloud platforms, the managed services mature to in the next 2 years so that some of these objectives can be met?
Absolutely. I think what Nitin, Gopi, and Ashwini said, and exactly it's the line. If you call us and ask us what is your next 2 bets on cloud, we just want to analyze and give as much insight to our customers so that they can have the reading and take to the next step. We want to enable them more. Cloud should be more an enabler for the agile business, as simple as that, by their industry, where they want to reach. And second point is that being CFI being a bit different type of organization who has a colo data center and telecom background with the cloud adjacency with hyperscalers, how we can play and make it more easier on the operation side, make it more efficient by bringing in latency below 1 milliseconds, by enabling our customers burst in, burst out with hyperscalers, because this hybrid cloud stay will be always there. You cannot deny that, and you cannot say that it will be always public cloud or a private cloud, correct? So that efficiency, how we can bring, that will be our second bet. And last, I just want to hint it out, as everybody said, skill set is very, very, very important when it comes to cloud. And the skill sets of cloud is not about technology. It is about understanding the industry outcome, basis that how we are creating the framework and how collaboratively we are bringing that to an architecture along with the business outcome. So that is third point where we are putting a lot of focus and effort today. And that's how we are transforming our discussion with the clients and partners going forward. Yeah, over to you, Vamsi.
Thanks. So I just want to go back to what Nitin said, right? I think as a provider, we will probably look to be more responsible. I think we can probably spend the next few hours just talking about data privacy in itself, but I think I get the point that as a provider whom you're trusting with your most important asset, which is the data, how are we ensuring that A, we are keeping it highly available, B, we are keeping it secure, and C, we are ensuring that you can take it back when you want in the form you want, is going to be a big focus. And obviously all of these in line with the government and regulations which are going to be evolving as we speak, right? So that's something which we as a cloud provider have to do it. But also, again, going back to what Nitin said, it's all about freedom, right? We also want to, and also what you said, right? In terms of what we as a provider want to eventually focus is to be that nimble supplier of not just infrastructure, platform, consultancy, services, everything, so that eventually you as a customer or you as a business succeed. So the freedom from an IBM perspective is going to be more around the hybrid deployment models in terms of being able to deploy across providers, across landscapes, across countries, across data centers, etc. So that's what I see in terms of evolving, both be a responsible provider, but also provide that freedom of choice to the consumer so that they can actually use what is best for them and their business.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thank you for this great interactive discussion. And I think for our viewers, I'm sure it's been a great learning in the last 1 hour on how to really manage your cloud operating expenses and also look at a holistic strategy which involves everybody from the organization. And it is something which we are doing for the needs of the business and not just for technology's sake. So thank you very much to this esteemed panel, and everyone have a nice day. Thank you.